Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, How to Build Real-Time AI Apps on Iceberg Data. My name is Yukti, and I will be your moderator today. One of my main jobs here at SingleStore is to organize weekly AI webinars. We organize 2 webinars per week and demonstrate data and AI use cases, new tools and technologies. So I also post about our upcoming webinars here and now. So if any of these topics are interesting to you, please feel free to connect with me to stay in loop. So I'll also like to hear your feedback or any ideas that you would like to see in future sessions. So feel free to drop a message to me on LinkedIn. Speaking of future sessions, as you can see on your screen, we've got multiple informative new webinar sessions coming up on July 31st, which is tomorrow. We are screening building fast Gen AI apps on Mongo data with SingleStore Kai. Uh, on August 1st, we have how to make full stack MongoDB and JSON apps 100x faster. And on August 5, which is a very anticipated webinar, we have the Trillion Row Cloud DB speed test with Eric Hansen. So if any of these topics are interesting to you, RSVP right now, and I hope to see you all there. Coming back to today's topic, you're welcome to participate in the discussion throughout the session using the Zoom Q&A button, which is present at the bottom of your console. We have an internal mission statement to try to answer 100% of the audience questions live, even if that means following up with people afterwards via email. Just make sure that you have logged into Zoom with your actual name and email address, because we will not be answering any anonymous questions. We'll love you all to have a dynamic experience during this webinar, so feel free to try out SingleStore notebooks. Anyone who tries it today will be entered for a chance to win either branded new AirPods or Meta's new Ray-Ban LLM smart glasses. It's absolutely your choice. Simply click the link that's present on your screen and log in. You may know that SingleStore has had a free trial offer for many years, but just in the past few weeks, we have also announced a new free shared tier, which we'll talk about a bit later today. You might have noticed that we have an auto RSVP to our future AI webinars option on our website. So if any of these webinars are interesting to you, there's a now a checkbox to or actually auto register, which will add future upcoming Zooms automatically to your calendar. You don't need to join each webinar live, but this is just an option for those who have requested to automatically receive the video recordings and GitHub links, which are useful for the session. Okay, so moving on, allow me to announce our amazing speaker today. We have the real database expert joining us today is Akmal Chaudhary, who is a subject matter expert when it comes to data and AI, and is also a regular speaker and expert at our weekly AI webinars. Akmal, I'm very happy to have you here with me today. Welcome. The floor is now yours. You seem to be on mute, Akmal.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. It's a question of trying to keep quiet because there's sirens going off outside. So thank you for that. And thank you all for joining. And you'll notice that today's presenter was actually Manish. Unfortunately, he's unavailable to present today. So I am filling in his large shoes, his big shoes. He's much more knowledgeable than I am, but hopefully I'll be able to give you some good insights into the technology. Okay. All right, then. So let's just say a couple of quick words about SingleStore then, and we'll talk about some architecture, and then we'll drill down into Iceberg specifically. So as a company, we've been around for quite a while, 2011. Okay, and here we are all the way at 2024. Originally very much focused around in-memory processing and OLTP. Subsequently added columnar support here and the ability to do OLAP. That was quite a few years ago.
Speaking to some.
Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. I think let's continue. Okay. Other capabilities, vector search, full text search, and we rebranded to SingleStore. Yeah. Okay. You see between 2020 and 2021. So that makes sense because no longer is the focus just on in-memory processing, okay, which is what MemSQL, the product and the company, used to focus on, but now it does a lot more. And then subsequently added lots of other capabilities as well during this time, which we'll look at in the next slide. Let me just say a little bit about the revenue. That's kind of important too if you are a business person. So we do have over 100 million US dollars in terms of annual recurring revenue, ARR. and over 350 global customers as well. I was asked a question a little while back, and I bring this up every time someone asks me, is that 350K customers? Not yet. Okay, so we will get there at some point, okay? But these are generally kind of enterprise customers and medium-sized customers, and we have many people using our free shared tier as well. Just along the bottom there, you can see the investors. Okay, so let me just try and highlight this for you. So these are kind of global, well-known names that you may have heard of. And it's a bit like, well, some of these are actually our customers as well. So it's a bit like that story again that I often quote, where there was a gentleman, he bought a shaver from a particular well-known brand. He liked it so much, he went and bought the company. So these companies utilized the technology and subsequently became our investors as well. In terms of architecture then, well, we have this kind of universal storage, okay, the ability to handle both OLTP and OLAP, and then you can see a variety of data sources. This is just a small sample, okay? It's not exhaustive. So you can see here on the left-hand side, technologies such as Kafka, for example, transformations using Apache Spark, or if you want to read in from S3, for example, or Hadoop HDFS. This concept of pipelines really acts as the means to ingest data at scale, at speed. And this is very important as well as part of the offering that we have for Iceberg. Okay, it's a key kind of technology that forms part of that, and we'll look at that very shortly. We do work on the three major cloud platforms, okay, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. You can run the technology on-prem as well. There is a hybrid option too, kind of interesting, part run on-prem, part in the cloud. And there is a Docker container available as well. But Yukti, I think, will share the links in the chat if you would like to sign up for the free account. I think virtually what they do now is that as soon as you've signed up a new account, automatically you get a kind of free tier provision for you. Previously, you had to spend like 15, 20 seconds doing that. Now they just do that automatically for you if it's a new account, which is kind of helpful because now you don't have to provision anything. It's there up and running for you straight away. So the quickest way really to get your hands on the technology is to create that cloud-based environment, an account there, and you can be up and running very, very quickly. I mean, there's nothing to install locally, and it just makes life very easy. Data type, so obviously relational, that's where the technology came from, and we do support other types, geospatial, okay, time series. JSON support has been there for quite some time. It's got better, I would say, with the introduction of SingleStore Kai, okay, which is the MongoDB compatible technology that we have. You can also use key value. There's Lucene full text search engine built in that received a bump in the last major release, and vectors, of course, okay? And if you were sharp-eyed and you were looking at the previous slide that I showed, you will see that vector support has actually been in the product since 2017. A major financial customer requested that capability at that time. Earlier this year, we announced some significant milestones as far as vector support is concerned, a dedicated vector type now, as well as ANN indexing, lots of other cool options available as well. And it's all in the documentation, okay? Unfortunately, we just don't have the time to cover all of that today. And then finally, just to say a couple of words here. So I'm really using this for building real-time decisions, dashboards, AI apps, dynamic experiences. And if you are working with technologies such as Tableau, for example, or any of your favorite tools for building these visualizations, very easy to use that. I use Metabase a lot. The free version is just a jar file, and within a couple of minutes, I can be creating pie charts and histograms, etc. Okay, so a few words then in terms of real-time performance, unlimited scale plus simplicity, intelligent applications. Okay, so we've talked about the kind of transactional side of things. Okay, ACID support, scale out. So this is a distributed SQL database, scale out architecture, shared nothing architecture. Okay, fast writes, fast lookups. We do support high availability and disaster recovery as well. Okay, those are very important to some of our customers. And then the other aspect here in terms of analytics, okay, we talked about the fast ingest, aggregations, JSON support, which is again quite useful. There are many applications today that deal with that type of data type, and the ability to store and process that is rather important. In fact, just within the last couple of days, my boss, Maduka, who's the CEO here at SingleStore, we were kind of exchanging some messages to and fro, and he asked me if I could build a notebook for him. Start off very, very simple. So we started off with the concept of customers and orders, very simple example that often occurs in the literature. And then gradually towards the end of the notebook, what we've done is added the ability to have JSON data, geospatial data, time series data, full text indexing, vectors. And so you start off with just the basic kind of relational concepts, and towards the end, you've really utilized more or less most of these multi-model capabilities of the product. And that shows you the power of it, because there may be cases where it makes sense to use JSON, for example. You may have data in that format already, for example, and working with that makes sense, okay, and keeping it in that form rather than having to convert it to rows and columns in a table. Search, I've mentioned already, so vector indexes as well, KNN plus ANN, full text search, hybrid search, JSON search. So one of the nice things about SingleStore is this concept of hybrid search as well, okay? So this ability to do vector indexing, but also if you want full text indexing as well, and you can combine the two in terms of this hybrid capability. Again, very, very useful for certain applications. So you're not just limited to one type of index there. And then just moving on a little bit. So this addition of this on-demand compute plus notebooks, okay. Again, the transactional, the analytics, the search. And if we take a look at some of the integrations that we have with external technologies, we've touched upon one or two of these before, but you can see here things like Confluent, for example, the ability to get data in using CDC technology, say from MySQL or MongoDB that's already supported, and then using ETL, for example, if you're working with some of these other technologies, mainframe and other relational systems, for example. Snowflake, Databricks, Cloudera. So we have great integration with these. So I actually joined SingleStore from Databricks, and so I worked with Apache Spark extensively, and you can actually run Spark within our notebook environment as well. Not great for creating enormous amounts of data. I wouldn't recommend it, but certainly for testing at small scale and working with data just to demonstrate the ability that this actually works well is very, very useful. And we'll talk a little bit about the Iceberg integration with Snowflake very shortly. Other things worth mentioning that obviously people are working with these large language models today. And, you want GPU support as well. And so if you have an account and you are a regular user of the portal and the notebook environment, you may have noticed that there is gradually this introduction for GPU support as well. So that is something you may see already. So that's very useful, again, for certain types of applications. There is Olama, okay, which again, if you've attended previous webinars, I've demonstrated the ability to run that locally on my laptop and then connect to SingleStore in the cloud and then be able to utilize that. But we have that coming on within our portal environment as well. So it gives you some choices of models as well. So that's, again, very, very useful. Previously, we've used, some of these cloud-based environments such as OpenAI, for example. And there, yes, the cost has gone down considerably, but still you need to pay for these, for the privilege of creating these tokens and text embeddings and so on. Okay, so getting on then a little bit. So the secret to building intelligent apps, majority of enterprise data is locked in lakehouses. So it's like that case that I read a few years ago. I think it was either MIT Business Review or Harvard Business Review or something like that, where it mentioned that the vast majority of data that people have, in their organizations is largely untapped. It's stored but doesn't actually get mined for anything useful. So people are gradually moving across to this concept of lake houses. So you want to store this data, but how do you get meaningful insights from that, in a timely manner? And so the problem is this, can't achieve sub-second queries. Okay. Time is money, business decisions sometimes have to be made in an instant. You need quick ability to access the data, make these decisions. Sometimes, as we've already mentioned, that you have a data in a format that isn't particularly amenable to other types of processing. JSON is great. It's a document format, and you might want to keep it in that format and be able to process it like that, rather than having to convert it to something else. Scaling to concurrency is difficult and costly. Okay, this is a challenge, I think, for all vendors. And sometimes, data sensitivity. You can't leave your private cloud. So this is an important issue as well for some people. And partly the reason why we sometimes talk about, running these local LLMs. So you have this concept of a private cloud, for example, or, these virtual links, for example. This ability to have greater control over privacy and security, where your data are, how much you are sharing to the outside world, if anything, and the fact that you might want to retain everything within your controlled environment behind your firewall and not let anything outside. So there's lots of considerations there and things that we need to think about in terms of privacy and security. So 90% of enterprise data is locked in lakehouses. And how do you use Iceberg to unlock the value from this data? So essentially, it's a great way to store all of this data, giving you this kind of table format that allows, scale, but getting meaningful insights from this is really the key to success. Okay, so say a little bit about this. So as we've mentioned, low latency, very important, fast ingest, and bi-directional data flow. Okay, not only working one way, but both ways in terms of getting data in and getting data out, and being able to access external sources as well. Okay, so SingleStore achieved this through its low latency reads, speed on writes, share data with the rest of the Iceberg ecosystem. And as you know, Iceberg is a widely adopted standard, evolving still and still being deployed. I've recently took the opportunity to have a look at a couple of aspects of that. For example, catalog management, which is something that I was curious about. It's interesting that, even on the Apache website, there's great information in terms of the APIs, for example, and all of these function calls you can make and the returned results. However, the examples, kind of end-to-end or practical kind of things that you as a developer could take away, are very hard to find. Things you have to code up yourself, and through trial and error you test it. So I think that's something that we will take on board and plan to build out in terms of more content. All right, so unfreezing your lakehouse. And here are some announcements for some of the key players in the industry as far as lakehouse is concerned. So here you can see this acquisition occurred not very long ago, okay, from Databricks. And you see Cloudera as well, Apache Iceberg and Cloudera Data Platform, Snowflake, naturally, Iceberg Tables, and this Polaris catalog, open source catalog for Apache Iceberg. Okay, so some of the key players in the industry really adopting this and going for it in a really big way. And that's, I guess, comforting in some sense, in that, often within industry, we see these standards kind of come along, and sometimes there is disagreement, and sometimes there is division, and things tend to go in different directions. That's kind of happened a little bit in the past here, but people seem to be focusing in on Iceberg now, regardless of which vendor you are. That's a good thing, I think. Okay, so the challenges with a lot of these Iceberg lakehouses: slow analytics in dashboards and apps, can't handle real-time use cases, and complex ETL to integrate with faster data platforms like SingleStore. So this is, again, quite challenging. And from an architecture and a business perspective, both technical and business, how do you resolve this? Okay, because again, the world that we live in is very fast-paced. Things move rapidly. You need answers quickly. You need to get insights quickly. Decisions may be, maybe sort of seconds and minutes rather than hours and days. You cannot wait sort of a long time to be able to ask questions of your lakehouse, and it takes some time for those responses to come back. So here we go. Powering interactive applications and Iceberg data. Okay, so merging the static plus real-time data feeds for intelligent apps. And here is a sort of an architectural overview. So Snowflake here. Okay, Parquet data files plus metadata. If you know anything about the Iceberg format, typically you're using a robust file system where your lakehouse resides, such as S3, for example, Microsoft Blob Storage, or Google Cloud Storage, for example. But this is great for point-in-time analytics. Okay, and this is where SingleStore is very useful because it augments this through this concept of real-time interactive applications, okay, giving you much faster answers. And the data coming from these external sources, some of those that we've touched upon previously, say Kafka, for example, or it might be other databases and applications from other environments. Okay, and so the low latency operational engine for Iceberg, okay, this is where we really pitch ourselves, okay, that's the differentiator that we make, the ability to take, external table from Iceberg, okay, and real-time native ingest as well. And this is bidirectional. Notice that the arrows work both ways, okay, here and here and here and here, okay. The ability to really handle this variety of situations. Now, in the documentation, you'll see it mentions some of these use cases, and there is support for some of these capabilities because they are in public preview. Okay. Some of these other capabilities currently in private preview. So if this is something you're interested in, reach out to us, and other things coming soon. Okay. So it takes a little bit of time to deliver everything here, but we are up to the task, okay, and it's coming, and more announcements are planned. So certainly for the zero ETL ingest from Iceberg tables, currently that's in public preview, the documentation is there, automatic schema inference, schema evolution, don't need any additional ETL tools or costs. And that's both, you're looking at this as in terms of a snapshot load plus incremental updates to SingleStore, okay, coming soon. So this is very much based around this pipeline technology that we have. And so the data sharing to Iceberg, egress from SingleStore data to Iceberg Lakehouse, snapshot plus incremental updates. Again, that's private preview currently, external tables from Iceberg as well, coming soon. Enhanced SQL for external table from Iceberg, same performance as SingleStore native tables. Okay, that's going to be quite a challenge. But again, I think engineering is up to the task there. So again, by all means, reach out to us if these are things that you're interested in and you'd like the opportunity to be able to test drive these and work on these with us as part of our efforts to add these capabilities. We'd very much welcome the input and the feedback. Okay, so as far as the SingleStore plus Snowflake story is concerned, bidirectional data flow between Iceberg, Snowflake, and SingleStore. Okay, two scenarios outlined. So we do have this concept of the Snowpark container service. Okay, we've seen the diagram there just a few moments ago. In this one, run SingleStore distributed clusters securely using the Snowpark container service. Okay, SPCS. Alternatively, you could do it this way. Run SingleStore side by side with Snowflake using our Helios cloud or self-managed, okay? And self-managed is essentially you take care of that yourself. You would need to do the upgrades, updates, and so on, installation. It's really within your environment. The Helios cloud environment, I would say, is great. And typically within the industry, you'll notice that security patches, updates, upgrades are kind of pushed out regularly. That leaves you free to develop your applications and not worry about those kind of issues so much. So two kind of scenarios there. Again, provides lots of flexibility for you and gives you choice in terms of how you want to run this. If you are already a strong Snowflake customer, perhaps the first option scenario might be very good for you. Alternatively, if this is you want some somewhat less, loose, a little bit of a looser coupling between the two technologies, then scenario 2 might be a little bit better for you. Okay, so now let's show you a demo. Okay, so let me describe the scenario for you. Okay, so this is a stock trading platform, both historical plus real-time analytics. So think about that. I mean, what would you typically store in your lakehouse? Probably historical data, right? And then remember, we've talked about the real-time kind of analytics. More data perhaps is arriving. There's additional data that you might want to enhance and embellish what you already have. Maybe see additional insights into that. And therefore, that could be very useful. And we've talked about SingleStore's power in that space. And the environment there is quite large, okay? By no means, you don't sneeze at this, okay? 2.3 billion rows, that's fairly reasonable. 5 years of stock data, 50 different stocks, and the data in Snowflake native format, okay? So this is where it's coming from. The steps: create Iceberg tables for the required data, ingest Iceberg tables into SingleStore, ingest real-time data using pipelines. Okay, so pipelines is again, one of these technologies that is very widely available and used in a variety of different ways. I've demonstrated it numerous times in the past. So great for integration with S3, for example, if you want to read data from there, or Kafka. It's awesome, or other external sources that you want to connect to. It's a very, very useful way to scale up in parallel, at scale, at speed, and getting data ingested into SingleStore. Okay, so the particular setup here is that in this particular demo, it's using Amazon S3. Okay, and you have SingleStore and real-time updates arriving as well, okay, which is really the value that SingleStore provides, the ability to process this data quickly and to give you those insights, the real-time analytics, plus the interactive analytics as well. And I know real-time it means different things to different people, but I think typically what we mean is that you can see the results immediately or very, very quickly indeed. Okay, if you want it within seconds, milliseconds, that sort of time frame, that is what we're really talking about. Again, not having to wait minutes and hours to get those insights, but being able to visualize things very, very fast. Okay, now I'll show you the link. No, actually, Yukti will share the link to the app for you. Okay, so I think she may have posted in the chat already. The demo itself, okay, remember Manish was supposed to do this event today, so I'm filling in for him, and I have a video from him. Okay, 5 minutes, okay, this will cover everything. And Yukti, please let me know if you can't hear, okay, if the sound is not good or any other issues, but let's just play this, okay? So just 5 minutes of your time, and this will describe the environment, and let's see what we can do there.
Now that we know what SingleStore and Snowflake envision together with the Iceberg support, let's look at a working demo of how SingleStore, when combined with Snowflake, can really supercharge your application with an interactive, speedy layer. In this demo, I'll be using a Snowflake environment, which contains 2.3 billion records for multiple stock portfolios for over 5 years. And then I'll ingest some of this data into SingleStore. Now, this is great at building a data mart solution on top of SingleStore, which provides a lot of interactivity. But we'll take it a notch further to provide and enrich this with real-time updates to power a real-time interactive dashboard. Let's jump into the demo. To begin with, I'll switch over to my Snowflake console. Here, I have created this volume which will house my Iceberg data. And this is the data that is referring to the stock. This is roughly 2.3 billion records. And this is basically records of every portfolio for the last 5 years, taken every second. There's also an enrichment data, which has some business logic about the company, the sector, the IPO year, and which can enhance business decisions. This is currently working on Snowflake. Let me also show you the app that this is powering. Now, this is the historical dashboard app that is currently powered by Snowflake. You have a moving 90-day window of the stock portfolio, and also a one-day trading volume. Currently, it has NVIDIA and Snowflake, the two most popular stocks right now. Let me also add the third most popular thing, which is Microsoft. Here you can see that with Microsoft being added, I can provide the same richness to my application over the 90 days and a one-day trading volume. Now, this is great. But what if you want to have real-time interactivity and real-time decision-making in the last 5 minutes? How would you do that? That's where the new solution of SingleStore with Snowflake come into picture. To begin with, we need to get Iceberg data out of Snowflake. Snowflake provides a great and a simple way to create Iceberg tables. Let me quickly get this for you. So here the Iceberg schema is created. Let me also insert some data here with the single SQL command. Similarly, I'll do the same thing for my enrichment data. And as you can see, all my Iceberg table is created, and that's it. Now let me switch over to SingleStore. In my SingleStore instance, I'm using the new 8.7 release build, and I will be creating a zero ETL pipeline, which is the simplest way to move data into SingleStore. I create the schemas. Let me also set up some new flags. And let me initially create the schemas that I need to have on SingleStore side. I'll also have the data from the stock exchange, which is live feed that will be powered in SingleStore. As you can see, none of these table has any data right now. This is where I'll be creating the new zero ETL solution, which is the pipeline of SingleStore. As you can see, this is a standing and a known pipeline command, which is pointing to the Snowflake catalog, and we are directly using the data in the Iceberg to be ingested in SingleStore. Let this create the pipeline, and I'll do the same thing for the data, for the 1 day worth of data that I had created the Iceberg table from. This really sets the stage for ingesting data. Now let's test the pipeline to see if the data is actually flowing in or not. And we can clearly see that we can read the Snowflake catalog and the Iceberg data to ingest in SingleStore. Now, let me start this pipeline, and very quickly you will see that the data is now flowing inside SingleStore. As you can see, the data has already started flowing in. The enrichment data was a smaller set, it's already done, and boom, all your data is inside SingleStore. Now that I see that my data is already inside SingleStore, let's switch over to the app and see what new capabilities can be unlocked with this. This was the historical view that was being powered mainly by Snowflake. Now let's look at the real-time feed, which is powered by SingleStore on top of Snowflake data. In this, I'm looking at real-time feeds coming from Stock Exchange per second, being enriched by the Lakehouse data and powering these visualization on the top. This is, I can add more stocks to it, which will continuously change this and add more richness to your application. Now, this is the complete new capabilities that is unlocked by bringing SingleStore and Snowflake together to power these per second responsive dashboards that was earlier impossible to build. Through this demo, it's clear that combining the power of SingleStore and Snowflake, customer can add great value to the application that are built on top of the same data set. With the zero ETL pipeline, we can do this in a very simple way and without any added complexity. This is just the journey of SingleStores with Snowflake. Right now, it's zero ETL. Very soon, we'll be launching the no ETL solution, and all of this can be deployed with SingleStore on Helios and Snowflake, as well as all of this inside the SPCS environment, which keeps data inside one ecosystem. Thanks.
Okay, great. Let me just turn the sound down a little bit there. So hopefully, let's take that. Okay, there we go. And then just to wrap up, I just add that one of the things that I was really interested in, so you saw there, I think Manish was using the Snowflake catalog there, but you can actually store the Iceberg catalog information in SingleStore. So just yesterday I had an article published on D-Zone here using SingleStore for Iceberg catalog storage. So I was just curious to see, would SingleStore be happy to, store this data as well? And absolutely, you can do this. So there's a notebook attached to this as well. And again, I struggled a little bit because with a lot of this documentation, it's actually non-existent. So, even finding simple instructions on the Apache website as to how to set this up, something like this for the JDBC connection was quite a challenge, but eventually we got there. So, and it works great. And in case you're interested, I tested out the same capability as well with Iceberg. Okay, that's the Python kind of interface for Iceberg. And for the demo that Manish demonstrated there, so Yukti will share the link for that. Okay, so we have a link that you can go away and have a look at the Streamlit application that will enable you to run that. Okay, there we go. And I think surprisingly, we finished early today. So Yukti, we are a little bit early. So happy to take any questions if there are any, and I'll hand back to you then.
As of now, we do not have any questions because I think this topic has been covered in the past as well, right? An entire launch was dedicated for it. But thanks everyone for attending and being so patient and watching everything with us. So just uh, we can wrap up a bit early and just quick notes for anyone that joined late that we are presenting amazing topics coming forward. On July 31st, we have building fast Gen AI apps on Mongo data with SingleStore Kai. On August 1st, we have how to make full stack MongoDB and JSON apps 100x faster. And on 5th August, we have the trillion row cloud DB test. So if any of these topics are interesting to you, feel free to RSVP right now. Thanks to our experts for joining, Spandana and Akmal. I see that. Second. Oh yeah, so we have a comment from Aftab. They say that just too much in store to know about SingleStore. Thank you so much. You can attend these sessions and you will be able to know more and explore the
Oh,
project
yes.
more in depth.
Yes.
So
So
I will be announcing.
yeah, so sorry, you see, I was going to say, yes, thanks for the question, the point there, Aftab. So just too much to know more about single. So the key thing here is that I think just start off on our documentation side, create a free account. You can be up and running literally in seconds. They've made it so easy now. You get the free tier, and that's free for life. And obviously, there are some limitations around that in terms of, you get a database and a certain number of tables that you can create. I mean, that's fine, but it's great for small scale testing, small scale POC. If you want to learn more about the product, go to, I think it's training.singlestore.com. Again, create a free account. You have access to this free online training as well on the product. There are videos, there are some tests as well that you can get some certificates as well to confirm that you took the training and you passed the test. They are very useful. You can add those to your LinkedIn profile. So those are good ways to really get started on the technology and learn more about it. I'd highly recommend checking our blog site as well, the SingleStore blog site. Often there's some great content published there, quite technical in nature as well, that will give you great insights. And with these webinars, for example, we try our best to cover as much as we can in terms of the capabilities of the technology. Where possible, we will reference customer case studies as well. This today I didn't, but I mean, we have references, and if you're interested, just reach out to us and we'll be very happy to share those with you. And I think I've said my piece there, Yukti, so back to you.
Okay, so I'll be announcing the winner by EOD today. So stay tuned for that. And thanks everyone for joining. Have a good day and good evening wherever you are. And if you have any more questions, you can feel free to email us at team@singlestore.com. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Akmal. Thanks, Pandana. And take care, everyone. Bye-bye.